Shalom. This is the Israelite School Universal Practical Knowledge in the state of Virginia. You understand? It's Priest Captain Nazar Shah, the I.S.U.P.K. It's an important lesson that the Lord wants our people to see as to what's going on, man. Our people are not understanding the fact that we've been marching and protesting since the days of Martin Luther King, and life has not gotten safer for Black people. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we have been following Martin Luther King's example for over 50 years. And in his day, we were marching for equality. We were marching because the police were beating us up, and we're marching, trying to get equal pay, marching, trying to be treated like a human being, marching, trying to combat racism, and yet and still, 50, 60 years later, still marching, voting, protesting about the exact same things with no results of success for our people. You understand? The Lord wants our people to realize something. Our people have refused to learn this because we've been following Christian preachers and politicians. Instead of learning to keep God's laws, statutes, and commandments, we've been taught things that God never wanted our people to follow, man. We're going to go to Lamentations chapter 4 and verse 17. The Lord wants our people to see, to finally awake. It says, as for us, meaning not for all people, not for everybody on the earth, not for the Chinese, the Africans, the Arabs, the East Indians, the different Africans. As for us, so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, our eyes has yet failed for our vain help. Meaning we've been looking for help somewhere. We've been looking for help. We've been looking for opportunities. We've been looking to be treated equal. We've been looking for the treaties that we've signed to matter to America. We've been looking for equal treatment in the NFL and the NBA. We've been looking so that we can get free and establish ourselves. The Lord said our eyes have failed for our vain help. Meaning the things that we are hoping in that is going to help us, God causes something vain. You understand? God causes something vain, the things that we hoping in to get help. It says our eyes have failed for our vain help. And in watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. We've watched for presidential elections and campaigns. We've watched for being the mayor. We've watched for integration. We've watched to join our oppressor's police department, his political world, his government, his military. We've watched to be able to have your interracial relationships so that Kanye West and Terrence Howard and Venus Serena Williams and Eve and O.J. Simpson, so that rich Negroes, Blacks, and Hispanics could go now and marry white women, marry white men, and have sex with the daughters of your oppressors. We've watched for a nation. The word nation means a race of people. In a Christian's mind, nation means America, like a country. But in this place called America, this kingdom of America, there are many different nationalities. You have the Chinese, you have the Arabs, you have the East Indians, you have the Africans, you have all of the other nations of people that are here in America. You have them all, the various Africans, the Nigerians, the Sierra Leoneans, the Ghanaians, the West Indians, the West Africans, the East Indians, Iraq, Iran, the Vietnamese, the Koreans, Chinese, Japanese, the various Asians and their families. All of these people are here in America. Those are different nationalities as far as the world is concerned of people. The Lord said there's one people who have watched for another nation of people to save them, and it's in absolute vain. It is in absolute vain that we've marched and protested and begged our oppressors to look at us as human beings for over 400 years. You understand? Our Native American brothers are starving and dying on reservations because our oppressors came and murdered their forefathers and put them on reservations. Our Hispanic brothers are living in dog cages in INS detention centers because our oppressors came and put them in INS detention centers. Black men are being hunted and gunned down in the streets of America because our oppressors have been hunting us for 400 years, man. And our people refuse to wake up and continue to hope that America will finally treat us correctly.
that our oppressors will finally treat us right. Everything about how America and how this kingdom, this empire is set up is designed to destroy our people. You understand? Everything about how America functions, its policies, everything about America is designed to destroy our people. Its functions, its policies, its government, everything, every step of the way. The judicial branch, the legislative branch, the education system is designed to wipe out your identity, to remove the Trail of Tears, to remove slavery, to remove how they murdered the so-called Mexican brothers and change the lines to now make Mexico be underneath of Texas, when Arizona and California, Texas, that's Mexico. The natives of those lands are called so-called Mexicans today. But these people here who rule over us have never looked at our people as human beings. They've never looked at our people as equal, and they never will. This is a hard lesson our people refuse to learn because Christian preachers refuse to teach the truth about the Bible, about life. Everybody lying to our people, man. Right now, black people marching and protesting all over Virginia. Richmond, Portsmouth, Newport News, marching and protesting. But guess what? These marches and protests are not coming out of a love and concern for the well-being of black people. If it was, they would not be gentrifying Newport News and Norfolk and evicting black people off of St. Paul's Boulevard and taking entire cities and communities where black people used to live in Virginia and now making it for all people or all lives. You got to realize that all lives title means to exclude you, to remove the concerns about making sure that resources are secure for you and your people so that they can be divided up to everybody else. That's already what's happening in the black community. You don't realize that thinking that marching and voting and protesting is going to make a difference, man. The only reason that they in your black city and community is because they're going to buy up your apartment complex once it turns into a condo and now you are homeless. You think holding hands with your oppressor is going to get you free. The only freedom our people are going to have is when we turn back to the Most High and keep his laws, statutes, and commandments and get in the I.S.U.P.K. and follow the men that the Lord set up, which is Commander General Yahanna, man. The Lord set up a place for our people to go to get instruction, structure, and order to save our people's lives. There's a reason why it's mainly, primarily blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans being attacked and killed like this all over America, man. The Lord said in Lamentations 4:17, as for us, not all people, our eyes have failed in our vain help, watching for a nation that could not save us. The problems that we have as a people cannot be fixed by a vote. Not a march, not a protest, not a prayer circle, not crying, not lighting candles, painting a visual, painting a mural, wearing a t-shirt, setting up teddy bears and crosses. We've been doing this since forever. Our problems can only be fixed by obeying the Lord. If you are so-called Native American, if you are a so-called Hispanic or a so-called Afro-American, Haitian or West Indian, understand this. You are not a regular man or woman like every other people on the world. You are the children of God, the children of this Bible, God's chosen people. Your forefathers, whether you like it, love it, believe it, or know about it, made a covenant with the God that created heaven and earth for our lives, for all of the future generations that would come. And this is something that nobody wants to tell our people because everyone can get rich off of the lies that we believe, off of the religions that we follow, the customs and the traditions that we take, because we do not understand who we are as a people and what our God requires us to do. You understand? That's why the Lord set up the I.S.U.P.K, man. The Lord says they hunt our steps. You got to realize if you black or Hispanic or Native American, God said your oppressors are hunting you. They're targeting you. There's a reason Hispanics are in the INS detention centers and the Chinese and the East Indians are not there with them. There's a reason they're not kicking in carry-outs. They're not kicking in them curry shops, raiding them bus companies. There's a reason why they're attacking you at church, at work, at the factory, at the construction site. While you building up and making America great, Like everybody say, why is it you the people being targeted and attacked? I'll tell you why. Because God said this one people he's referring to, his chosen people, he said we've looked for a nation to save us that are not able to save us. You understand? It says they hunt our steps, not all people's steps, that we cannot go in our streets. It's different if you in someone else's street and you being hunted. I can understand that to a degree, even though they say everybody's free here. But if you a black man and you step foot in Williamsburg, Virginia, Williamsburg is hunting you. Just like they were in Ferguson, Missouri, just like they are in Baltimore, Maryland, just like they are in Prince George's County, just like they are in Lafayette, where they just murdered a brother last night, just like they are in Chicago and Philadelphia and Harlem. The Lord said they're hunting you. Our oppressors are hunting our people, just like in Brazil, where the Portuguese that rule over the descendants of the slaves are having our people live in dire straits, man. They hunting our people. They targeting our people. God wants you to realize you've never been told there was a target on your back. You don't think that you the prize game. You the trophy that the chief hunter wants to mount your head on their wall. You've never been taught this before. You know why? Because you've been listening to politicians and religious leaders, people who want votes, people who are not concerned about the actual problems that your people suffer on a regular day-to-day basis. There was no All Lives Matter march when black people got eviction letters on St. Paul's Boulevard, right where we speak, to be taught that they was going to be thrown out of their damn apartments all up and down Tidewater Street. There was no march or protest for that. There wasn't a march or protest when black people were told they were going to be put out of Newport News to make way for casinos and gambling. There was no protest for that. There wasn't a protest when they took the damn houses and businesses that black people had in Atlantic City and stole the boardwalk and put casinos up. There was no protest when Seneca Village got turned into, Central Park now. There wasn't a protest when they burned down Rosewood, Florida, Tulsa, Oklahoma, the lynchings in Lincoln, Nebraska, when they bombed Philadelphia, entire blocks of black businesses. There's no protest that's concerned about your lives, man. This is politics. We need solutions that go beyond the flavor of the month or the hour. We need solutions that's going to save our people's lives when it's not popular, when it's not an election year, when it's not time to vote for Trump or Biden or Obama. We need solutions on a regular day-to-day basis to save the lives of our people, man. Let's read some of these names, man. Black people been marching and protesting since the days of Martin Luther King, and guess what? Guess what happened? I'm gonna read the list of these. These is the list of brothers that's still being killed right here in America every day, man. Stephen DeMarco Taylor, brother executed by law enforcement, unarmed black man. Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta, we watched the video footage. While people were still protesting for Ahmaud Arbery being killed, George Floyd being killed, Breonna Taylor being killed, Sam DuBose, Freddie Gray, Philando Castile, Terrence Crutcher, Michael Brown, Eric Gardner, Walter Scott, Trayvon Martin, Tatiana Jefferson, Breonna Taylor, Botham Jean, Sean Reed, Miles Hall, 23-year-old brother with a mental illness, gunned down. Arion McCree in South Carolina. William Green, handcuffed, got shot in his head, man, PG County. Tamir Rice, Ohio. Little boy playing with a toy gun on the playground. They roll up and kill him immediately. There's no concern with the preservation for your life the way that they have a concern with the preservation for their and their children's lives, man. Not in a courtroom, not on the streets, not at a traffic stop, not when you go to school, not when it comes to housing, not when it comes to medication, not when it comes to healthcare. They don't have these concerns with your life. That's why the Lord said we should have never joined another nation of people. The Chinese are not joined to America. America's preparing to go to war with the Chinese since what, forever? But the Chinese are not getting dragged out of their cars and beat by the police in any state. America been preparing, been at war with the Arab world for almost 20 years since 9/11. But they not doing what they doing to Hispanic immigrants like they doing to Arab immigrants. Why is this? And we advocating violence in I.S.U.P.K? Absolutely not. But the Lord wants you to wake up and realize something, black man. You marching, protesting, and holding signs is not saving anybody's life. It has not worked. It didn't work when we started Martin Luther King. It didn't save his life. It didn't save Malcolm X's life. It didn't fix any of the problems we have, cannot be solved with politics. We gonna have to turn back as a people and obey the Lord and finally ask ourselves why these things keep happening to our people. Nobody ever is concerned to figure out. Nobody thinks to ask the Lord why these things are happening. Everybody crying to God, singing about God, talking about God. Nobody actually asks the Lord why these things are happening, man. Let's keep going with this list, man. E.J. Bradford, Michael Dean, 28 years old, killed at a traffic stop. Jamie Johnson, 22, an HBCU college student in school, killed at a traffic stop. The I.S.U.P.K been saying this since the 1960s that our oppressor has been hunting us. And before there was a camera or a Facebook live footage or a video feed, before all of this, you didn't want to hear this. You said we were speaking hate. You said we were wrong. You said that's not true. This is 2020. Racism is in the past. Well, I'm reading this laundry list, this grocery store list of about 80-something brothers and sisters that have been executed. While you've been telling us this, we've been saying what the Lord said here in the scriptures, and nobody wanted to hear it. Now that it's an election year, all of a sudden everybody want to burn down cities and march and hold signs. Where were you when all the human traffic was going on in Virginia Beach? The I.S.U.P.K was on the streets talking about it. Where were you? All Lives Matter in Portsmouth, Richmond, Chesapeake, Suffolk, Newport News. Where were you? The I.S.U.P.K been on the streets talking about it when you did not care. Now all of a sudden, it's time to get out and vote. They run game on black people, man. All the murders happening in the ghetto, all up and down Norfolk, Chesapeake, all up and down Hampton Road, all throughout Portsmouth and Richmond. Where was all of these protests, man? These candlelight vigils ain't stopping shootings. Our people need solutions for the oppression that we under on a day-to-day basis. And a song, a dance, a choir rehearsal, a vote, a march, a protest, that's not going to solve it. We got demons on our people from disobeying the Lord because Martin Luther King told us to join a people who never believed our lives matter to them. Let's get some more, man. The Lord said they hunt our steps that we can't go in our own streets. Our end is near. Our days are fulfilled, for our end is come, man. Marching and protesting because finally the rest of America has been forced to live the way that black people are forced to live on a day-to-day basis. They're forced to worry about their bills, the safety of their children, their health care, eviction notices, not being able to pay their rent, hours being cut on their job. They're forced to finally worry and live life the way black people live on a day-to-day basis. Seeing their loved ones and their families suffer and not having the power and the ability to change it. Seeing your economic status, you're not able to make the money that you could and live in the pleasures that you could and be able to have everything planned out and perfected so you can live your day-to-day life. America was forced to be black for a few months and they took to the streets rioting and burning cities down because they could not take the oppression that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans have to live with every single day. When the Bible say love thy neighbor as thyself, the Bible tells you to love the children of thy people. They can't understand what it's like to live like you. They had to do it for a few months and they set a police station on fire in their anger, man. That's what happens when they forced to live the life that you live in. You don't realize they hunting you, black man. You don't realize why you got the high blood pressure, the high diabetes, the high sugar level. You don't realize stress causes your organs to fail. That's why black people #1 in heart attacks, strokes, cancer, organ, kidney failure, bad bladder, prostate, stomach, ulcers. All of that come from stress, man. The stress that you live in on a regular basis, trying to raise a family with your neighborhood destroyed, your economy destroyed, other nations of people in your community setting up businesses while you getting ready to get put out so that they can buy your house. When was that all lives matter then? It wasn't a concern then. You know why? It wasn't an election year. This is about politics, man. We not politicians in the I.S.U.P.K. Commander GEN.YAHANNA ain't raising up politicians, man. We keeping the Lord's laws, statutes, and commandments and actually give a damn about the lives of black people on a consistent basis, not when it's politically correct, not when it's time, you understand? Our people been suffering like this constantly and nobody wanted to hear about it. Now they talking about police reform. After 20, 30 years of putting black men in jail on drug charges, which is wrong to sell drugs, but it was targeted to make sure that crack and heroin was put in the black community so that they could arrest you for 20 and 30 years. After they told you to integrate, after they destroyed your businesses, after we got tricked to go and join our oppressor and stop shopping and supporting each other, then they brought in the Chinese, the Arabs, the Africans, everyone else. And this ain't no hatred towards another nation of people. This is a reality and a fact. Mahatma Gandhi loved his people in India, and because he saw the oppression the British had on his people, he separated his people from the British out of the love that he had for his Indian people. You understand? Nelson Mandela loved his people in South Africa, and out of his love, not saying it was right, nobody telling you to go attack white people or any other nationality of people or your own people. Out of the oppression and the frustration he had for the love of his own people, he wanted his people separate from the white South Africans that instituted apartheid on his people. The Chinese needed to get the British, who turned their Chinese citizens into heroin addicts, shipping opium in from them poppy fields in India and Pakistan and Afghanistan, the same way America did to you during the 70s and the 80s, flooding it with heroin. Now that it's an opioid epidemic, all of a sudden, you know, these people are sick. But when it was a crack epidemic, after they starved you to death and beat you and wiped out your identity, you were a super predator. That's what Hillary Clinton said. That's what Kamala Harris said. Joe Biden didn't want to go to school with your kids. He said, I don't want my children to grow up in a racial jungle. Or we don't remember that. We didn't got wrapped up into politics thinking that's something for us. General Muhammad explained this very clearly. Politics is a game that mice play with snakes if you are Black, Hispanic, or Native American. The very institute of how America functions is designed to eat your people alive. That's how it works. That's why you're the first fired and the last hired. That's why the banks are not giving you the loan. That's why you will need a business degree to get a business, but a Chinese, an Arab, and East Indian who does not speak English can open a restaurant and function perfectly for decades in a same community where you cannot get a business to open. And if you do, because of Martin Luther King's teachings of integration and all lives matter, your people will not support your business the way that they will support the Chinese, the Arabs, or the East Indians' business. This isn't hatred towards them. This is despising of our own people. We got to love our own people. Our people don't love being Black when we look in the mirror. Our people don't love this. Our people don't understand the oppression that we are under and the work and the abuse that we have suffered to make our people this way. It's not your fault, man. It was a systematic plan to make sure that you end up raising kids that you could not control by yourself in the ghetto system. It was a systematic plan since slavery to get Black men to have sex with sisters and throw them away and become like Marilyn Monroe, and then become Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion years later. It was a systematic plan to make sure that our sisters became whores and stopped being wives and mothers and started aborting their babies and killing their children for the hopes of being in America, sitting in some seat in some office, having a business like Oprah Winfrey, man. Is that worth the lives of our babies? 350,000 Black abortions every year. All of a sudden, Black lives matter. They run game on our people, man. They run game on our people. Every Black baby aborted in the Black community would grow up to be George Floyd. They would grow up to be Trayvon Martin and a Tatiana Jefferson and Jordan Davis. They would grow up to be Rayshard Brooks and Sean Reed. They would grow up to be Tamir Rice and Antoine Rose and Miles Hall and Botham Jean and Ahmaud Arbery and Walter Scott. If they got the chance, they would grow up. When are their lives going to matter, man? See, we sick as a people. We don't realize that. No other nation of people is told to kill off their babies, man. No species in any creation that God has made kills 350,000 of their own offspring every year. That's a sickness. You can't vote that away. You can't sing that away. You can't have no church service and make that go away. This is a systematic thing being done on our people. Your soul is under oppression in this empire. That's why Christ came to set us free from this, man.